Hello and welcome to Midnight in Baghdad. So I'm Goldie Metcalf.
And I'm Charles Naughton.
And this is Midnight in Baghdad, episode 53.
Great tune there.
It is a fantastic tune to bring us into new episode. And tonight we've got some startling revelations. I wouldn't say they're startling, but we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about and some new changes to the show, or new things, I suppose, for our listeners out there to look forward to.
Yeah.
We set up our TikTok page today, folks, and we're looking to hopefully live stream to you guys out there over TikTok to engage with, I suppose, a different audience. And we're looking for 1,000 followers so we can actually make this happen. And we're close, folks. We are only
999 away.
No, we're not. We are only 6 followers away from 1,000, and we'll be able to go live on TikTok. It's probably not going to happen tonight.
If we get 1,000, can we go live? Yeah,
we can go live
straight
absolutely
away. Perfect.
On TikTok. And not only that, but we have something else very interesting coming up. We have a new show, don't we? It's an extension of MIB.
Yeah,
it's MIB at the movies. So we're hoping over the next
Midman.
Midman. So over the next couple of weeks, we on TikTok caps. Yeah, absolutely. We're only on it today. We set up the account today. We put up a video or two, put out to people there, the feelers, and we're only 6 away from hitting 1,000 views.
That's fantastic.
It is absolutely fantastic. But MIB at the movies is coming soon, where we are actually going to dub an entire B movie, like a 1950s out of copyright movie that we've never seen before. We're actually going to provide.
I think we
it's
should
an improv show.
Suggest a movie.
Maybe, yeah. You guys out there at home, if you want to suggest a movie that we do that's copyright free, we'll certainly do that on the show next. But it's going to be a tough challenge to ad-lib for like an hour and a half. It's up on our page there
especially
now.
Especially when I'm going at 11.
The name of our TikTok is MIB Podcast. MIB Podcast. MIB Podcast. So please do check us out. But other than that, folks, it's back to our normal and kind of regular, what would you call it, programming. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get straight into it tonight because we have an awful lot of topics.
Yeah.
Charlie didn't send in a few. So
I sent you in.
Yeah, but they weren't great. So we kind of had to
3D printer one.
Pull stuff together kind of in an emergency situation. Roman Clan, welcome to the show. Benji Boyle, Pork Chop, Caps, all absolutely delighted to have you here tonight. So let's get into it, right? New York hospital to stop delivering babies as staff quit over vaccine rules. Now, this is a hot topic, and we generally don't go with the mainstream news normally, do we? But this is
what vaccine
ties in really nicely. The COVID-19 vaccine.
We've done COVID-19 on the show.
I know we've done it on the show. Absolutely, we have, and we are again a year and a half later. But now in the States, and some of our American viewers might be able to assist because I haven't looked a whole lot into this, but there's essentially a federal mandate now for federal workers to be vaccinated, particularly in the likes of the healthcare system. So we've gone from it being a choice to being mandatory.
For nurses or patients?
For nurses, doctors, healthcare workers. Presumably it's going to extend then into law enforcement and teachers and whatever else. Do you know what I mean? You can see that's the way it's going to go if it hasn't already. What's your feeling on this?
No comment.
and this basically hospital is stopped delivering babies. Like when you read that headline,
unless the baby's had a vaccine.
Well, no, unless the person delivering the baby, the midwife, has had a vaccine. But this is a situation here now where babies, they're going to come anyway. You can't just stop. Do you know what I mean? These babies are coming. So do people just start having home births now? Do people have to find alternatives?
So the hospital will refuse a woman arriving in labour if she doesn't have evidence of a vaccine?
No, it's not that at all. The workers, the government won't let them work.
Okay.
Unless they have the vaccine. So they're all quitting their jobs and stuff and refusing to work. So now they can't deliver any babies. And now that's going to have a knock-on effect to all the other facilities, and it's just going to overload the system. Like.
And did this come out of the blue, or had the hospital given nurses and doctors warning and time to get the vaccine and so on?
Well, I don't know how much notice they did actually have, but isn't this something that the conspiracy theorists and the anti-vaxxers would have told us this was coming all along. And now here it is suddenly. Like, we certainly shouldn't be surprised by it. Benji Boyle says, mandate, you have to make a decision. You don't get it, you can't do certain things. Yeah, so you're essentially being backed into a corner here. And we know what the States is like for trying to earn a living. You know, it's you got to work for it. Do you know what I mean?
It makes sense maybe for nurses and doctors, though, to have a vaccine.
Oh, listen, Charlie, like, I fully understand what you're saying. And I get it. Obviously, they should be vaccinated if they're in that profession to protect themselves, not only other people. But it is the right thing to do, but by telling them they have to do it, is that not a little bit too far?
But, like, do you think it's too far if the government, as they do, they tell you have to have a driving license before you can drive?
Yeah, I suppose, but this is a different circumstance. This is, if I'm a young guy here today looking to make a career choice, and I look, what does it take to be a doctor? And I know I have to get a degree and a PhD and do all this kind of stuff, and it's going to cost me X amount of money. I also know that I have to be vaccinated. So I go in knowing.
Yeah.
But these are existing workers who came into the system when, you didn't have to be vaccinated. COVID wasn't a thing. They're being forced to make decisions about their entire future. They might have to change careers as a result of this.
Or change hospital. Is it just one hospital?
Well, at the moment it's one hospital, but like, you can see that that's going to extend out into.
And how many hospitals are in this state?
I don't know. Can I do? Okay. I just want to. You guys listen at home. Before Benji Boyle says they're not accepting exemptions at some of the hospitals. So there you go. It's carrying out in other places. But just to let you know what's happening here, folks. You can probably detect a little bit of tension in the air. Like, you could cut it with a knife. I think you're purposely out here now to belittle all the stories and not to show an interest.
I'm just asking you,
because
you've done COVID loads of times on the show. I'm just wondering how many other hospitals are doing this. You don't know that. When does this become mandatory? Is it already mandatory for these people?
No, it's not.
It's not mandatory yet.
No, it is mandatory now.
No.
Yeah,
when
but
did it become mandatory?
You see, folks, if you could see, he's smiling away at me here because he knows he's trying to fuck it up. Charlie tried to submit a couple of stories earlier on, and they weren't deemed sufficient for the show. So we had to change the stories around, and now he's arrived with no stories. We're just doing my stories, and he's pissed off. He's pissed off. So he's going, you're going. If that's the way you want to be with it, that's fine. I'll accept that challenge, but I know no more information than what's on the screen.
Okay.
As every other show.
So you're just going to read it off the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Do that. It's to generate.
Don't read the like.
It's to generate a philosophical debate. Do you think, like, for example, in your profession, do you think that you should be mandatory vaccinated?
Well, personally, yes, I do, but I can see where you're coming from. That, like, you should give people the choice.
Yeah,
but we already have a lot of mandatory stuff in this country already, and we're just used to it. So this is another thing that's going to become mandatory.
But there's different. There's different. To have mandatory things like laws and, like you say, have a driving license. That's fine because you can choose that without it actually affecting you biologically. This is for the first time, I think, in our history, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks, that this is now something that's mandatory. Like, we have to actually put something into our bodies for us to be actually in society or to have the right to earn a living. Is that a step too far?
Well, could I ask you a question? There's a lot of debate in England about play schools now, and probably it'll become primary schools soon enough, that they are not going to accept kids who don't have the MMR vaccine.
Okay.
So how would you feel about that?
Yeah, like, if there's an opportunity to if there's an opportunity for you to go to a school where that is acceptable, where there's a school for people who don't want MMR vaccines, I suppose it's the answer there, isn't it? Like, you have to cater for both, don't you?
Well, if you're asking me my opinion, I think everyone should be vaccinated. But again, I can see that some people wrongly think it's associated with autism and so on. And even though it's been proved, it hasn't.
There's definitely an awful lot of misinformation out there and scaremongering, but it doesn't come from nothing. There's always there is an element of truth. And even if science has moved on since then, people still remember, I suppose, the stigmas attached to some of these vaccines. Let me put the question to you in another way. If you were a person who didn't want the vaccine and didn't get the vaccine, and now we're being told that you have to change career, would you accept that as
I'd be so annoyed, yeah, annoyed.
But you wouldn't accept it?
Well, I'd have no choice. Am I right? I have to get it or move to another place of work.
Yeah, but eventually it's going to be a case where you won't be able to get work. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Pork Chop says, would you change your career over a mandate? I guess it depends on what the mandate was. If it was for this particular one, no, I wouldn't, because I have the vaccine already, and I'm happy to have it. But if it was in conflict with my ideals, it's a tough question to answer.
Would it be fair to say that the people in this profession, they should be trusting science? So if you have someone who's involved in science, like nurses and doctors, not trusting science, that maybe they're not in the right career, then maybe. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It could spread to cinemas or to schools or whatever, and these people have nothing to do with science. But I think they should be making.
They should be basically setting the example, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're happy enough for this law to be brought in, and people have to take it or leave it, basically.
But it's not a law at the moment, is it? Are you just saying it's this one hospital? It's their policy. It's not a law in the state, is it?
No, this is basically a new federal law that's come in.
So it's a federal law.
Yeah, people at home, correct me if I'm wrong, but this didn't. Biden announced this a week or two ago. The mandate makes room for medical exemptions, but excludes religious ones. Hospitals and nursing homes must comply by the 27th of September. So they're actually been given time to do this. You're a matter of weeks. 30 people have resigned, 21 from clinical areas, and 165 remain unvaccinated.
Be really interested to see what happened to that 165 on the 27th of November. Like, will they be fired?
You'd have to imagine so. You'd have to imagine so. The school or the hospital is planning on shutting down. They're not delivering babies. It's crazy stuff. Benji says they're going to pay off student loans or far more schooling for you to change your career. Yeah, you're basically saying that it's like you have to remember in the States as well. Like, these doctors and nurses would have spent hundreds of thousands probably on schooling, and they're left with all these debts. It's a very, very tough decision, I think. And I suppose the only answer is we're living in a society now where we might have to cater for both. There might have to be, non-vaccine only hospitals.
I think this will certainly get rid of the people who are half-assed about the vaccine, who like causing trouble. At the end of the day, they'll just suck it up and take the vaccine and moan about it. And then it'll be really interesting to see how many people die hard believe the vaccine is physically dangerous.
Yeah, because we saw here in our own country, that people were like, "Oh, I'm not getting the vaccine," and then suddenly, if you had it, you could go for a pint. So everyone was just getting it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I suppose how much are you going to stand up by your principles of that? It's definitely one to watch. I don't know what you guys from the States listening think of it at all. I'm sure you all have your own different opinions. But it's certainly interesting times.
Be interesting to see if other countries,
a lot of the stuff that we see in the States eventually does come here, doesn't it? In a way, so it's
people will watch, see how they react here.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time before we start seeing things like that in developing Europe. I've no doubt about it. Labia liberation, the movement to end vulva anxiety for good. This obviously is a very ear-catching headline. Romo Clan says, is it truly principles or politics? And that's it. Like, we talk about like flat earthers, and we talk about, the anti-vaxxers and all these, NASA moon landings, all these conspiracy theorists. Like years ago, you always it was something that you kind of saw briefly in the background, wasn't it? Or that you might hear about. But now it's just in your face with the advent of social media and communication age. It's just so much easier to convince people and spread fake news and stuff like that. And obviously the politicians are using that, and we've seen that with the Russian election, the Russian interference in the elections, and all the other information that's coming out recently. Social media is politics, and yeah, you could be right. Benji says, I don't mind when what anyone chooses to do, I probably wouldn't have gotten it if another country I plan to visit didn't require it. Okay. That's why I'm glad I own my own business. I can't imagine what it would be like to quit a job because I don't want to stick some gene therapy shit in my veins. 100-yard alchemist. Thank you very much for that comment. Clearly an anti-vaxxer.
An actual alchemist.
And an alchemist, which is ironic. He could be making a fortune. But yeah, so labia liberation, it's definitely one of those ear-catching headlines, isn't it?
Especially when you pronounce it right.
So what would you like me to say? Labia?
Is that not how you pronounce it? No?
Well, I think it's tomato.
Okay.
Women have long been taught to be ashamed of their vulvas, with increasing numbers turning to cosmetic surgery in pursuit of genital perfection. But a new generation is fighting back. Now, I didn't realise that women had vulva anxiety to begin with. Did you?
I'm not even 100% sure exactly where the vulva is as opposed to the vagina, cervix, and so on.
Well, you're talking about the labia majora and the labia, whatever you'd like to call it, minora.
Okay.
So, right? But
is the labia the flaps?
It is essentially the flaps. Yeah, to put it crudely.
So that's what my children would call it. So what is the vulva?
It's just the name for the whole thing.
It's the same.
It's the name for the.
I thought the vulva was inside. Okay.
Well, it's all part of the one thing. Like, yeah, and you can see from the picture that we have on the screen here. This is a lady holding an actual plaster cast. We're not looking at pornography in any way, shape, or form. And you can see different, two very clearly distinct types.
And that's external there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't realize that. Okay, external.
But I didn't know that women had anxiety over this because
come on, you must have. We've discussed this. That, like, some labias can be a bit not very attractive.
Yeah.
That they can be quite big, they can be hanging down, and so on.
But this is the point people were making, like, that a lot of women have an issue with the inner labia, I suppose, extending past the outer.
Okay.
And that was the issue. But then somebody made the comment
like
that
men might have issues with penis size.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about that now shortly, funnily enough. But basically, women are trying to say now that, years ago you didn't like big asses and now you do, and big hips and stuff like that. So, it's only a matter of time. Big lips obviously being massive now. Everyone's getting the stuff injected into them to kind of make their lips bigger. So now they reckon that, they could change the trend of making big vulvas and big labias, basically the in thing.
Change like that.
No, but they're saying this is the way it should be, like, and then they kind of revert back to say, well, women shouldn't have to wait for a trend to be comfortable. Do you know what I mean?
See, the thing is, we all know what would have been roughly a normal sized lips, roughly a normal sized ass, roughly, for example, a normal sized ear. I genuinely have no idea what is the most common vulva labia size, shape, and
it's just what you see in the movies, isn't it? Like,
and they'd be presumably very not normal. Like, I wonder, would they?
Well, I suppose everything is made look better in the films, isn't it?
So I have no idea what is normal. What is? Are they massive?
But the ones you like, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a big issue with either. Like, I've never seen any kind of odd. But so you're talking about the inner? I'm talking about
the actual look of the vagina, and a lot of women wouldn't even look at their own. Like, a lot of women haven't, and this is like there's a high percentage. I think 45% of women don't even know what their own one looks like.
Okay, because you'd have to
use a mirror or whatever, and which I find absolutely astonishing.
You would have looked.
Of course, absolutely, you would look. So this is the new thing now that people are getting.
Beef curtains.
People are getting basically plastic surgery on their labiaplasty. Is the surgery to alter the appearance of the vulva, generally by trying to reduce the size of the labia minora, the inner genital lips or flaps, so that they don't hang below the labia majora, the outer ones. So people are getting this
Sounds
done.
like a place where people go.
It seems a bit excessive, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I did hear people getting that operation.
Like, you can see why maybe porn stars might get it done. Do you know what I mean? So they can prolong their careers and stuff. But at the same time, isn't there kind of a cycle for porn stars where they do the stuff when they're younger, and as they get older, they start playing the MILFs and the GILFs, and they just go into different categories. So if you do happen to have a large labia minora, well then why don't you just jump into a different category? No, but like if go into a different category of porn.
Okay.
You don't really need to.
Would you imagine there's a category?
Absolutely, there's a category for everything.
Big labias.
Yeah. Definitely.
Have you checked that out?
I haven't, but we'll do some research before our next show.
What would you say would be the tag you'd have to?
I'd say you could just put in whatever you want. One of the comments here is beef curtains, fanny flaps. What else did they say? Juicy coochies. Like there's loads of different I suppose terms and stuff for it. But it's just very interesting.
If you come up with a new term, what would you come up with?
I don't know, Charlie. I really don't. But I just thought it extremely interesting. Where are people going to stop? Which brings me on to kind of why I wanted to bring this up in the first place, because this is a story actually from 2016, and a man chops off a friend's penis after losing penis measuring competition. Right? And I was like, what the fuck? So this incident happened after a drunken argument took place between the two childhood friends. So these are actually mates of each other's. Okay, and we should probably put it up there for you.
I know where you're going with this one.
Say again?
I know where you're going with this.
Well, where am I going with this one? Then tell me.
Basically, if I don't toe the line.
Yeah, if you don't get your act together, you're off the show. I'm going to chop off your flute. No, but basically, what's after happening here in this story is that these are two childhood friends. They've known each other since they're young kids. Okay, they go on a 2-day binge drinking session. Now this is in like Urals in Bakhmut or Astan or somewhere in Russia. So they're already mad fuckers. Like a 2-day drinking session on fucking Smirnoff or fucking some crazy homemade vodka. Yeah. And basically, I think one of they're 42 years of age. Right,
very close to the bottom.
Literally. These guys, I think, were one was in the 40s and the others in his early 50s. And he got pissed off that his mate had such a bigger dick than him. He woke up in the middle of the night with an axe, knocked him over the head with the axe to knock him out, and then chopped off his flute. And he fucking woke up the next day going, what the fuck?
And he lived.
Oh, he lived. Yeah, he lived, but they couldn't rescue the penis. And this is his fucking best mate. So first of all, there's, this obviously, so many things come to mind in relation to this story. First of all, what would you do if that was me, if we had the best night of our lives, having a drinking session, like we did that time up in the woods, looking down on Waterford or Kilkenny, was it, wherever we were, up in the mountains, and we have a great crack, we eat a few sausages and beans on the barbie, sing a few songs, go to bed, and next thing you wake up and I've chopped your fucking dick off.
So your man didn't even wake up?
No, he knocked him over the head, like.
Okay. Well, I suppose I'd be so pissed off, I'd be thinking, what's the state of our friendship now? And the only way that we'd agree to be friends is, unfortunately, you'd have to let me chop yours off.
Are you serious?
Yeah. or we won't be mates anymore.
Yeah, no,
the first
that wouldn't be happening, I can tell you that much. But
how would you feel, the guilt you'd feel when you wake up and
I know,
sober
but
up?
it'd be a great story. It'd be a great story for the show. No, but in this particular
I find it
story,
very hard to make friends.
What really gets me in this story is not the fact that it happened. The fact that his friend was so in shock that his mate's dick was so much bigger. And they're like in their 40s and 50s and they're kids since childhood friends. How have they not seen that before? Like, what kind of friendship is that?
Childhood.
No, but like, no, not I'm talking about childhood. Like, come on, how old are we now? And, we'd have a good idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
would you say they measured penises unerect? Like, how do you decide a penis being, if you have a bigger penis or not? Is it unerect or is it erect? Does that, because it can change?
It can, yeah. Well, like, I suppose when you were younger, it would have been, when you you wouldn't have been erect when you were comparing fucking dick
Yeah, but these boys here,
do you know what I mean?
40s
but I think when you get older, yeah, we all know what good. Like, you're not good. You can't call yourself good friends until you know what your mate's dick looks like. Let's be honest about it. So I what I don't understand is how he was so shocked.
Okay, he should have known.
He should have known, and it shouldn't have been a surprise to him. And if he had known, geez, he could have had such great fun.
What?
No, but
Do you know what I love about this? Look at a picture, right? You know the way these you go to those websites and you go and you get a stock photo.
Yeah.
So this lad, like however many years ago, was asked to pose. Right, we're doing a lumberjack picture here. You might sell, might be selling a lumberjack shirt. You might be used to sell an axe.
The jacket or an axe.
That
or
fella,
yeah.
right? God love him. He's just a normal guy. He's not probably even Russian. But that guy
is now
somewhere. Yeah.
Is
you know
now
you can
considered.
do a Google image search, like, check this picture.
He's the guy that actually fucking chopped off his mate's dick.
So his that's mom or something will be looking.
And I suppose the moral of that story is be careful what you're posing for, because you never know how it's going to be used.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are the guys still friends?
I don't know. It doesn't say. He's looking at, I think, 8 years in prison or something like that.
Wow.
And his mate will never have to use his penis again.
Does that seem harsh?
I think
what did Lorraine Bobbitt get?
I can't remember. She bit it off or something, did she?
I thought she chopped it off with scissors.
Was it chopped
off?
I don't know. I can't remember. Jeez,
that would be impossible.
It wouldn't be impossible. It'd be pretty rough, but
maybe you'd wake up plenty of time before.
Well, that's what I don't understand. I think we talked about that on our show before. How did that happen without him waking up at some stage, going like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like with that pain, she must have drugged him. But definitely very, very interesting stuff.
8 years. That seems. Well, I don't know. Like, is that harsh or not? He's destroyed an organ of the guy. But like, if he chopped off a big toe, no way a jury would have given him 8 years.
Well, yeah, but like you don't need your big toe. Like, it's losing your toe and losing your flute are very drastically different
chopping
things.
Off an ear, which technically you need.
No, but you don't. No, but like, you have another ear. Do you know what I mean? You've only got one flute.
Yeah,
and you get so much use out of it. So,
can you get you have to wait and get a new kidney and all that, a transplant?
No, you can't. No. I presume that they tried to save it, but
they must be able to. Sure, look at the way women who become men.
Yeah, I know. That's all from the ones that can't reattach to the original guy. No, but like that's what I'm saying. You could probably get a reconstruction or something,
not the real,
but it wouldn't be your actual flute. You might not have any kind of feeling in it or whatever. I think it depends on the case.
Transgender people don't get erections. I think they do.
Of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. But I'd say
experience sensation as well.
Or maybe, I don't know, do they? Maybe they just press a button or something. It's like a little fucking, those batteries you put in watches or something, and underneath your balls, and you just fucking little click.
Do you think?
I don't know. I think, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Okay. It's definitely worth looking into. If anyone of you guys at home know, do transgender men gain erections? That is interesting.
Yeah.
But
can I ask a question?
Of course you can, Charlie. That's what you're here for.
She-males in porn.
Yeah. I tried to dabble with that recently. I don't know.
You mean dabble as in like try to watch it and get off on it?
Yeah, I was like, I'll have a look and see what's going on here. Right. Do you know what I mean? Just to see. And I was like, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay for a minute, but it just gets a bit too fucking weird.
Right. I don't even know what to say to that. What inspired
you ever looked at it?
Come across it by accident, and I find it like I prefer gay men than that.
Would you? Yeah.
Yeah, it really freaks me out. I know that's a terrible thing. Yeah, to say.
I don't know what happened to me because I was scrolling through as you do, and I was getting all this kind of bisexual stuff. I was like, what's going on here?
Why cuckold?
Yeah, and I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, I don't know why, like, where's the normal stuff? And I inadvertently turned it over to the gay section. Inadvertently. I know, genuinely inadvertently. I don't know. I don't know why, but so obviously you kind of look at it for.
So that was under the gay section.
Yeah, but I suppose like there's no bisection or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? In the categories. That Romo Clan says that's from the gene therapy shit you got in your veins. Yeah, it probably is. Maybe we're being fucking transformed. But no, I certainly seen some of the videos, and
Okay.
while they're curious at the start, it just gets too fucking heavy.
Okay, so do they get erect? Like, so first of all, I have two questions. I don't know if you
Pork
know the
chop.
answers to this. Are these people born with this? No.
No. What I'm saying, what I was watching was
She-male.
2 men and a woman, but the men were getting in on it together.
Sorry.
But then you would come
I've
across
watched a lot of that as well.
there's a natural evolution from that then into the she-males.
She-male. Okay, so do you think a she-male is born with a fully functioning penis?
They can and they can't, I guess.
Okay.
Because if you're a man and you want to be a woman, but you keep your penis, well, then you could be a she-male, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But if you're a woman that turns into a man, are you a she-male or are you just a woman?
Like, could you?
I think
could
it's
you
all
be
about how you
born as a
identify.
woman? Like, look physically female, have breasts, and yet have a penis.
Like naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what
they?
most
I'm sure.
females
Like,
might be?
I wouldn't say it's massively common, but definitely it's possible.
Okay. And the second thing, when you watched it, did the she-males get erect?
Yeah,
It was just flopping. No, they actually did get erect.
they did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. That's good to know.
but I don't know if it's by pressing a button or fucking
Okay. Or just
something
taking
natural.
Viagra then.
Maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
Really
Absolutely.
interesting.
It certainly is interesting stuff.
Yeah. Send me on that link.
I will. So where were we with the question? What was our story?
What do you mean?
Like, what was the point of this whole story?
I was forgetting I was even on the show. I genuinely wanted to know those two answers, and I don't know. So you're saying they can be born with it?
Yeah.
And they did have an erection in the porn that you watched?
Absolutely, they did. We got this all came from somebody getting his penis chopped off.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. How we take tangents. You're probably aware that the new Matrix movie is coming out soon. Is it at the end of this month even? Matrix 4, right? Matrix Resurrections. I think Matrix Erections, we should probably call it. But yeah, what's funny is you hear that there's a new Mission Impossible coming out, or a new James Bond coming out, and a new Top Gun coming out.
Hyped for ages.
And you're hyped. And then this Matrix thing, I don't know, was I living under a rock or something, but it's just kind of hit hard in the last couple of weeks. So I think it is coming out soon. And they were brilliant films, weren't they, as a kid?
Yeah.
Hard to understand some of them.
Yeah.
But really interesting stuff. I think they degraded. I think the first one is definitely the best, and it gets progressively worse from that, and worse by definition of worse, just less good. I know Top Gun delayed again, Benji Boyle. I was really disgusted with that. It's just because of money. Do like they want seats, they want bums and seats in cinemas watching this. It's Top Gun. It's not going to be released on Netflix. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to release it half-heartedly. This is going to be a blockbuster fucking movie, but it just makes you want it more, doesn't it?
So you think summer 2022 at this point? Then?
I think
you're going to release it in the summer,
maybe
surely.
April or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So Matrix 4 just kind of came out of nowhere for me. So yeah, I really look forward to the films. But with that in mind, it brings us on to our next story, and it's physicists have a Kickstarter to test whether we are living in a simulation. So of course, the Matrix is all about mankind being enslaved by machines, living in this kind of simulation, and now there's actually a Kickstarter, like a GoFundMe page for people who want to figure out if we are actually living in a civilization, and they've raised something like 15 million already. That's insane stuff, isn't it? Like, are people just like
that would be? I could see people giving money to that, because you would, like, people like you that are obsessed with this question, of course you're going to contribute to it. If there's even a small chance you'll find out.
But you'd want to have a lot of money to be able to invest it in that, wouldn't you? Like, into something, to throw your money into something like that you probably know deep down in your heart is not true. But it's just, is it just cool to back it, to say, oh yeah, I backed fucking finding out if we're in the Matrix or not? Like, that sounds cool.
Okay, yeah. And do you think the people are shysters?
No, I think they genuinely believe that they're going to be able to do it, and how it's very hard to understand their thought process and around it. But very simply put, I was trying to kind of reconcile it in my head earlier on, and how I did it is, does a bear shit in the woods? No, actually, it's nothing got to do. Well, I suppose it could be about a bear shitting in the woods, but it's more so got to do with, if a tree falls in a wood, can you hear the sound if there's nobody there to hear it? And the whole theory is that if we are living in a simulation, it means one of, I think, three things, or there's three possibilities. One, that mankind has evolved so much and has this mass compute, like supercomputing power and whatever, and run simulations because of humanity because they're curious about their ancestors. That's one reason why there would be a simulation. So actually we're living, like, we're actually not even probably alive, but humans are alive thousands of years in the future, and we're just actually their program because they're observing us and they're observing history and how people reacted. And that's one of the reasons why there would be a simulation.
Humans in the future.
No, we're basically
we're like
advanced AI
in the computer games.
Advanced AI, basically, okay. Yeah. Good representations of our past selves. The other possibility is that mankind could get to that point and not really give a shit. Do you know what I mean? That they wouldn't give a shit.
Like the way you don't care about a slug.
Yeah. So they wouldn't care about
like
their
the
history.
Mothman, remember?
Yeah.
Right.
So therefore, we couldn't be a simulation.
Okay.
All right. And the third possibility is that I forget the third possibility. The third possibility is
so much that we're not human anymore.
Oh, sorry. No, the third possibility is that we've actually wiped ourselves out before we ever got to that stage. So there couldn't be a simulation. Do you get me? So mankind would have, climate change or nuclear war or whatever, an asteroid impact or whatever we do to ourselves. We make ourselves things. So why, we never get to the stage.
They're acting on the assumption then that a simulation must be from the future.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, is that not a problem then with the starting point, the logic there?
Why?
Well, like, why can we not have the simulation having begun 20 years ago and the program is still running? Like, why does it have to be humans from the future?
Because the simulation has to be created by, like, the computing power it would take for our world and our universe to actually be a simulation is so vast that it has to be from an advanced civilization.
But you're basing your understanding of the world on the world of maybe a simulation that in 2000 we didn't have that capability, but maybe.
Well, you're probably you're thinking too much into it. Really, you're thinking that my understanding of how advancement is based on what I'm told in my simulation. I get what you're trying to say, but this simulation is almost a replica of humanity's real history. Do you know what I mean? That's why we exist.
But then we're not.
So it's going to be true. It's going to be accurate. You know what I mean? Our technology for 2021 will be what it was for the actual 2021.
Okay.
Maybe with a couple of years either side difference, depending on choices and events that might kind of diverge or whatever. But I think we're going to be in around the same ballpark.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting. But what the reason I said does a wood fall in a tree make noise is that's what they're going to base the test around. That no matter how advanced we were, for the universe to exist everywhere all the time in this simulation is cost too much power, processing power. So that has to shut down when it's not being used. Much like when you play Grand Theft Auto on your computer or whatever, that, if you're in a certain part of the city, the other part of the city doesn't exist. It just renders as you go. Do you know what I mean?
Because it saves faster and older.
Yeah, it might get a little bit blurry or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it just renders as you go. So they're saying that they have some test to basically check that here.
I bet they do. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's their theory, that they're going to be able to, I suppose, stretch the computing power of this simulation if it is one, and see, can they detect any anomalies, any glitches or things like that.
So are they acting on the assumption that it's a matrix?
Well, a simulation, if you want to call it the Matrix, yes,
okay,
but a simulation.
Yeah, so
it's very simulation. If you read the article, guys, it's extremely complicated in its jargon.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the guts of it.
So do you think this is a con, or do you think these people genuinely believe they can do this?
Well, do you know what I actually think it is, in a way? I think it's necessary. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, whether we're in simulation or not, it's part of of our history. It's part of our existence, and it's part of something that we wonder about. So yeah, we should answer.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Why not answer it? And ironically, what I could see happen, I don't believe we're in a simulation right now. I really don't think so. But I think it's these questions that we're asking is what will lead us to maybe one day be in one.
Okay.
Because people will try do it because we've asked a question and we've maybe figured other things out along the way as to how it could happen. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of reverse engineering it almost, and it's probably inevitable.
There was an interesting theory somewhere in the article that said maybe the makers of the simulation were doing it just to in the hope of getting a response from if it was a simulation, that the simulation would recognize that someone was trying to
make a simulation
as a simulation. Well, trying to identify it as a
simulation.
Right,
yeah, and stop it.
That would kickstart, yeah.
Which is essentially the story of the Matrix, isn't it? Like, you know, they as soon as people start becoming aware,
the whole thing will fall apart.
The whole thing falls apart, yeah. And Neo is that kind of.
Would
glitch.
you want to know?
That's the question. You know, when I read this, I thought it was very, very interesting. But it's the Matrix is out, so let's ask the question: would you take the the blue pill you have to take, the red pill?
So you got to tell me which is which.
yeah. I think the blue. I think if you take the blue pill,
what was his name?
The blue pill is be aware, and the red pill is ignorance.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Yeah,
definitely don't want to. That's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think now I probably want the red pill. Ask me when the Matrix came out, I'm taking the blue pill all along, every day. Because I was young and stupid and foolish, do you know what I mean? And I suppose, like, you're kind of, back then I would have wanted to know the truth, and I would have wanted to fight for what was right, and, you know, lead the resistance or whatever the case is. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be, to know your true self would be really important. But life is fucking hard enough as it is in the simulation. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's this fucking hard here right now, like living in a fantasy.
Isn't that one of the theories in the Matrix, that they can't make it too easy? That they did.
Yeah, they had people had utopia.
Nice.
People had utopia in the first Matrix, and they had everything they wanted. But we're not built to live like that, so we started to reject it, and they failed. So they had to actually make life tough. Doesn't that fucking show you how strong we are, I suppose, in a way, or how fucking unique we are? Idiotic, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? And like, I've always wondered about the simulation theory, and then applying it to random stuff. And the one I'd always come back to is, like, if I was to ask you now, if your partner was cheating, right? Like, I put the idea in your mind. And it's not that she is cheating, but okay. I put the idea in your mind, which of course we all do wonder. But I somehow tell you, you've two options. I can tell you the truth, and you can find out if it's real, the extent of it, and you'll feel all that.
Yeah, but we've faced stuff like that before, haven't we? Yeah. We've all asked questions that we kind of knew the answer to, didn't want to hear, but had to hear it anyway.
Well, is that you'd say you have to hear it?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to turn away once the idea is in your head?
No.
You couldn't ignore it, should
No. But
okay.
I guess you're right. So I suppose, what you're asking me in reality there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, it's easy for me to sit here knowing that I'll never be asked about a red or blue pill to say, I definitely take the red one. But in reality, faced with that decision, not knowing we had this conversation, maybe.
What?
Maybe I would. Ignorance would probably
supposing I could offer you
make me take it.
That would allow you to forget and be ignorant of the fact that she cheated on you or whatever. And I'm able to say to you, your relationship will continue fine with no more doubts. Would you do that? Kind of like in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. But I think you're destined to take that pill then anyway. And then, like in those kind of movies, there's going to be problems. There's going to be little clues as you go along, Vanilla Sky type stuff. Do you know what I mean? Where things start cracking, and you'll end up getting on the truth anyway. It's definitely very interesting stuff. Very philosophical tonight, folks. Would you want to know?
No. I think as I've gotten older, maybe I was always that way, but I'm good at digging my head in the sand, yeah.
I know you've definitely always been.
Yeah, probably.
Been that way.
Yeah.
But that can catch up with you, man. Do you know?
Maybe, yeah. But right now it's worked, so good. to work now.
What would you do, folks? Would you take the red pill or would you take the blue pill? Ignorance sometimes is bliss.
Can you imagine a world without midnight in Baghdad? If that was offered to you, would you take that pill? I bet everyone would.
People would be queuing up to take it, I'm sure.
Friends would be like, so I'm only listening to it out of an obligation to Goldie.
There you go. Yeah. But no, it's much appreciated, folks. So our next story is, and Charlie is, he didn't actually send in the story because we know he didn't send in any stories at all.
Check your phone.
But
I've sent you stories here.
Yeah, but they weren't sufficient, mate.
Michael Jordan's underwear. 3D printer printing out a little.
Well, you sent that late, obviously. You obviously sent that late. You were sending me the Financial Times and stuff.
Did you read that article?
No, I needed a subscription. Hannah Fami 390, welcome to the show. So you
regular Financial Times listener.
Financial Times listener. There you go. Words. You wanted to talk about business and making money. Well, here's a story for you, Charlie. A firm raises 15 million to bring back woolly mammoth from extinction. And this is somewhat like our previous story, fundraisers to do some crazy and exotic things. So basically this company, scientists set initial sights on creating elephant mammoth hybrid with first calves expected in 6 years. Basically, we could see the woolly mammoth roam our land again in 6 years' time. How fucking crazy is that?
That'd be cool.
Do you think it's cool?
Geez, the potential of that science, if it works, would be.
But why? Like you know, everybody at home, all our listeners out there tonight, you're all thinking Jurassic Park, aren't you? Immediately, it's the first thing that springs to mind. It's Jurassic.
Dinosaurs.
Yes, but these are prehistoric or Neolithic or whatever the period was. Animals. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, but first we bring back a woolly mammoth. Next thing we're bringing back a velociraptor. Do you know what I mean? Like, where do you, like, you know, that's going to be
Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile will be brought back. But like, this is the kind of natural thing with things, isn't it? Like, is this playing God? This? I don't know. I like, my first instinct will be, I'll be honest. Yeah, it was like, oh, Jesus, that's cool. But then when you think of the consequences of that and, you know, what stuff that we could end up bringing back, we're already facing a pandemic for what is now believed to be a man-made virus, if you believe certain things and certain accusations or whatever. Now we're talking about playing God again and bringing back animals that died thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, they had their time. Leave them be is the way I'm thinking. Why are we fascinated with bringing things back from the dead, preserving things? Why are we obsessed with that?
Do you think we should leave people like in Africa suffering famine, leave them be? Like, they've had their time, they're dying.
No, they haven't had their time. They've never actually been given a real chance, I suppose. But I'm talking about animals. I'm talking about less sentient. Sentience is just aware of oneself, isn't it? So I say animals are sentient, but a less intelligent animal, is to put it that way. They're not humans, so they are different.
I see what you mean. So there's no real function. There's no real pressing reason why we need to bring back a woolly mammoth.
There's not. And
okay,
but we want to do it. Why? What's the reason?
Could you not say the same? Like, why land on the moon? You know, like, we do a lot of things.
But that's an advancement. That's looking forward. A woolly mammoth is looking into your past. And they died for a reason. Like, you know, nature, the world decided to get rid of them for a reason. And maybe it was simply so we could exist. So why are we going to fuck with nature and play God, essentially, and do that?
So this is a private firm, is it?
It's, let me see. The prospect of recreating mammoths and returning them to the wild has been discussed seriously at times for more than a decade, but on Monday, researchers announced fresh funding they believe could make their dream a reality. So it seems like
probably saying that
some kind of private sector, government, semi-government sponsored thing or something. I don't know.
Like, could you imagine a government? So let's say it's a private company.
Yeah. So just to describe the process for the listeners who might be interested out there, a genome is extracted from a frozen woolly mammoth specimens and compared with Asian elephant genomes to reveal mammoth-specific genes. Because obviously the elephant is some kind of cousin or whatever, right? So the second step then is that skin cells from Asian elephants are edited to carry mammoth genes. And then the third step is an egg is created in the lab from stem cells. Its nucleus is then replaced with the nucleus from the skin cell containing mammoth DNA. The egg is stimulated to start dividing and carried to term in either a surrogate elephant mother or potentially an artificial womb. Like it's
So it's going to be
they're
a
essentially
hybrid.
taking the mosquito from the amber there, aren't they?
Okay, I think this is brilliant. Like elephants are one of our most famous endangered species.
Mm-hmm.
If we create some kind of hybrid, and the mammoth has some kind of, let's say, resistance in its genes.
Resistance to what? Mankind?
Well, no, people aren't going around. Okay, people are going around killing elephants.
Yeah,
That's
they're
not
literally.
what's killing them.
What's killing them then?
Elephants are totally being destroyed by the environment. Their landscape is being torn down.
Yeah, by humans. Deforestation.
Yeah. So woolly mammoth, let's say in theory.
So what you're saying is the woolly mammoth is going to like turn around to humans and go, no, thank you, you're not taking this land, this is ours, and fight.
No. That if this woolly mammoth gene and the elephant gene are blended, it's kind of hybrid, to the extent that the elephant can survive without needing the forest, without needing all the stuff that we've taken from it. I think there's.
So you're looking to abuse nature. Then you're looking to have your cake and eat it. Like if you're going to as a human being, devastate lands and take it for industry and for residential and for farming and whatever, well then you have to suffer the consequences of that. You can't have it both ways. You really can't. Do you know what I mean? And for you to say that they're not endangered because it's not humans, it is exactly us doing that, and we are shooting them. At this moment, there's probably an elephant being shot for its fucking ivory. Do you know what I mean? Like it is completely humans that's taking them out.
These other people are doing this. Like it could be a great way to balance it. I think it's a fascinating idea if it works.
I think it's worrying. I think it's worrying because they're not going to just stop at a woolly mammoth. It's going to be eventually something that's dangerous and doesn't belong in a modern world. And like we talk about, you look at Australia and their customs and their practices, what they do to protect their environment. We're bringing this creature in from tens of thousands of years ago back again. It could end up extremely, extremely bad. Benji Boyle says, but there's no cure for cancer. Yes, there's not.
Don't get Goldie started on that, Benji.
Well, no, we're not going to go really deep into it. There are the problem with cancers is that they're so unique to each individual.
Don't you have a kind of a theory at the back of your mind that
I think, like pharmaceutical companies are obviously going to want to make money. There's no doubt about it, and it's cheaper to treat cancer, I suppose, than it is to cure it, and that's, I think, true. Maybe a little bit ignorant, but the reality is that it's very hard to come up with a cure for cancer because, first of all, there's so many different types, and it affects everybody in almost a unique way, and there's not, like, do you know what I mean? Like you can't tailor a unique cure for every single person that has it. And I know they are actually working on that kind of stuff and identifying the different ones and trying to find trends. But it's probably there's probably a little bit of truth to both, but it's not as easy as you think. But even if there was a possibility of that, Benji Boyle, I think we still need to we still need to ask these questions as well. Humanity just can't focus on one goal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We have to spread our resources about multiple things.
Definitely, but I'm sure. Yeah, you could look at anything. Like look at 20th Century Fox, and couldn't you argue that they should be putting their money into cancer research instead of making movies? You could do that with anything, I suppose. Yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah, we do. Benji, you're probably right. That money could, but what's the cost of that? It could cost us in other ways, and we do need to expand and learn, I think, as a race, and that's what keeps us going.
You think this going back to the woolly mammoth is not a step in the right direction?
I think it's dangerous. I think it's probably, again, a necessary thing. It's part of our evolution, maybe, to do it. But I think it's extremely dangerous, and it could have dire consequences for us. But that could be just our natural cycle.
Would you like to bring back any other animal?
Not really. What I want to kind of move on to now a little bit, just is why do we preserve so many animals now? Like, why do we care if the elephant goes? Why are we protecting them? Like, is there not a bit of nature taking its course there? and I'm kind of flipping sides probably a little bit now, but whether they go from natural reasons because of an ice age, or whether they go because a more dominant predator came along and wiped them out, that was just the order of things. That's the way things were. So should it not be for the same of elephants and stuff? Are we not just the dominant predator? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we actually going against nature by preserving them?
No, I presume it's in our self-interest to try to preserve these animals as much as possible.
Why?
Because they're part of a food chain. What do elephants eat?
Grass and shrubs and shit, I think.
They must eat some other thing. But you get where I'm saying, Ray. If that chunk of that chain dies off, it's going to have an unpredictable effect and a chain reaction, which could end up screwing us.
So it's for selfish reasons.
I'd imagine that's the best way to
appeal. Like, I know we talk about the bees and things like that, and how the bees are essential for human life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And pollination and all that kind of stuff. Like, we wouldn't be. We literally have no food resource if it wasn't for bees. So we'll protect them, and that's purely. It might be come across as a good thing to do, but realistically, it's self-preservation.
Yeah, but I'm sure you could say the same about hedgehogs and everything. Like hedgehogs, which will eat little insects. Those little insects can destroy crops or whatever it is. So everything comes down to selfish.
So do you think it would be worth doing thanks very much for the likes, folks. Do you think we should do like an analysis of what animals directly benefit humans and not preserve everything outside of that because they're of no use?
That'd be a real dicky thing to do, wouldn't it?
But it's what we do, isn't it? We're selfish.
I'd like to hope.
Like, I love animals. Don't get me wrong. I really do love animals.
I'd like to hope most people aren't.
You what?
I'd like to hope most people aren't selfish,
but we are. You've just said it. As a species, we keep bees just because it'll wipe us out if we don't. We keep cows so we can eat burgers and all that kind of stuff. So it's all for selfish reasons. It's for consumption, isn't it?
Yes, but there are other people that don't do things for selfish reasons. I mean,
what have you ever done? And is there such a thing as a selfless act? I don't think a selfless act.
In this show,
I don't. Yeah, the people listening to the show do. It's a selfless act. But
you can't.
I don't think a selfless act exists. I think they're like unicorns.
Okay, so you're in New York and you see a guy, I'm going to say a homeless guy, robbing an old lady at gunpoint, and you intervene.
Yeah.
Is that not selfless?
No.
You know.
Because you're going to feel good about doing it.
Regardless, you're not doing it. So there's a million ways you could feel good. You could do drugs, you could go and have a drink, you could go to a movie. Easier ways to feel good. Yeah,
but I know if I do this, I'll feel good about myself. So it's not really a selfless thing, is it?
So you did it to feel good. Is that what you're saying?
No, but I suppose what really the question, and I think we have different definitions of what selfless means. What I mean by selfless is there an act that you can do that you do not benefit from in any way whatsoever? That's my definition of a selfless act.
Okay. And you'd say feeling good about it.
Feeling good about it is a positive thing. It's a reward, isn't it? Okay. So it's not entirely selfless. It's certainly brave and Jesus it's honourable.
On the cross, that's selfless then. Or are you saying he was thinking, I'm rescuing all these humans? Fucking love me.
I don't know. Like, let's say, well, first of all, you have to believe in the crucifixion. And
that's a fact.
Well, the crucifixion is a fact. In Benji Boyle says, "Is the homeless man armed? Are you risking serious injury aside from a couple of punches?"
In fairness, if there was an armless homeless man robbing a lady, you don't need to intervene. The lady's fine.
She'll be all right. Yeah. No, but Jesus, obviously the crucifixion we kind of know is true. We don't really have any proof. Just word of mouth and what was written down, basically. And we know today how media can be manipulated. Why is it any different back then? It's probably easier back then because there's nobody to spread the actual truth like there is now on social media and stuff. So, yeah, but if we choose to believe the crucifixion itself was true, just the whole other element of you know, was he actually Jesus? Like, was he actually
That's
the Son of
irrelevant.
God?
Let's say he believes he is Jesus, right? So it's good enough that he thinks he is.
Well, then no, it's not a selfless act at all. It was his goal from day one. He knew that
to
was
save
going.
humanity. What's he get out of it?
He saves humanity. Like,
But there, I think you're in a kind of trap, like a rat in a
no,
maze.
but like
Your logic doesn't work.
Like
there.
he strived all his life to get to the point where he was.
Yes.
Where he be the Messiah.
But are you saying that was for what did you define?
So he achieved his goal. He achieved his goal. So if you achieve your goal, how, like, that's literally selfish. Not selfish, but it's self-fulfilling.
Then, I suppose by your definition, yeah, there's no such thing as a selfless act.
Okay, what do you guys think, folks? Yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, am I?
Well, I don't see that. No, by your logic, there couldn't be a selfless act. Yeah, you're right. Then, like Hitler's final solution, not selfless. Like he might have believed it was, but you're saying no. If that was his goal, I know he didn't achieve it actually, but he was obviously thinking he was doing a good thing by trying to achieve it. So yeah.
I think it's an interesting one. It's something I wonder about all the time, because there's always agendas with people, I find, these days, and maybe I'm too much of a critic. Maybe I look at acts and I think, what's the agenda here? What's the motive here?
And you're saying every
every
action has a selfish element to it. Then it becomes very hard to distinguish between what's evil and what's not, maybe, because you can turn around and say, well, everything is selfish. So a homeless guy robbing a lady.
It doesn't mean but it doesn't mean that it's not a good thing to do. Like,
so
why
selfish thing can be good?
Of course, yeah.
Such
as giving a homeless person on the street €5. You give him a €5, that person goes off and buys their drugs, and then you're happy about yourself for doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But like
does your motivation then matter? If you did it in order to feel happy, that's selfish. Yeah, you did it because you knew you were going to feel happy. If you did it because you genuinely want to help mankind and you happen to feel happy, you didn't think you would, but you end up feeling happy. By definition of feeling happy, does that mean it was selfish?
But you'll probably tell somebody, won't you? You'll probably tell somebody, I came out of the shop there and I seen a homeless fella, dropped him a $5. Not a bother. Do you know what I mean? You're going to say it, aren't you? You're going to make sure it's acknowledged. How often do you hear people saying shit like that to you? Oh, I was at a counter and your one didn't have the euro in front of her, so I gave it to her. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see it on TikTok now, people staging stuff like that now, where they're paying for people's bills and stuff like that. And it's not TikTok, it's not it's not to help them, it's so they get fucking a few likes. Do you know? Someone
giving a like to a video, or Hannah Fanny there giving a like to that show, is that a selfless act? Like what benefit does Hannah Fanny get out of that?
That's a good question. Maybe we've discovered it. If you like Midnight in Baghdad, the podcast, give us a like. It costs you nothing.
Benji boy.
Thanks, Benji boy.
€5 coming your way now. In the
€5 on its way to you right now. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe do you feel good, Benji? Do you feel good for liking the show? Like, that's really the question. We'll move on to our next topic. And this is
I like this one.
Do you like the story? This is up your street, isn't it? Because it's ridiculous. Right. So an Iowa man calls in bomb threat because he didn't get sauce for chicken McNuggets. Tell me about this story, Charlie.
That's definitely a selfish act anyway. I think we agree.
For sure. Talk to me about it.
Well, you'll have to tell me, did he ask for sauce for the chicken nuggets?
It feels like you sleep well tonight now. Your conscience is clear. You've done your good deed. Thank you, Benji.
Well done, Benji.
Sorry, Charlie. Go ahead.
Did he ask for the sauce?
He did.
Well, then, okay, it was an extreme overreaction, but there's a sense of justification. I hope he wasn't punished for this.
Yeah, so police say an Iowa man attempted to get revenge.
He rang the police over
on his local McDonald's after he was shafted out of sauce for his chicken McNuggets, but things blew up in his face, like he was shafted out of his sauce, right? This is the language they're using.
Yeah.
Ankeny police arrested Robert Gulwitzer Jr. on Saturday night, Jr., so we can probably guess his ethnicity, after he allegedly threatened to blow up the restaurant and punch an employee over missing condiments. according to ABC affiliate
I
WHO.
love, so what? He doesn't even need to punch. After you've blown up the restaurant, what's he going to go in and punch your dead body?
He's not going to get his fucking sauce anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if it's his local restaurant,
He was 42 years of age.
it's becoming an important age for this show.
Yeah, it is actually, isn't it? So police contacted him. The sauce craving suspect, like the language is amazing, admitted to making the threats. Authorities arrested him Saturday night and charged him with a felony of making a false report of explosive or incendiary devices.
So did he ring the bomb threat into the police or into McDonald's?
Into McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously McDonald's got onto them and said, "Here, listen, this fella's saying he's going to blow us up."
So he actually said it was him, or they just I suppose it's his local McDonald's, so they knew him. They recognized
probably,
his voice.
or the call was traced or whatever. Like that's not important.
How's your going? I'd like to ring it a bomb threat.
Fuck you. Well, obviously, he probably would have made a complaint about not getting chicken nuggets,
So they recognized his
so
voice.
they would have known who the order was delivered to or whatever. I feel his pain in some ways.
Yeah, big time.
There's nothing fucking worse, and I know you wouldn't be a guy that kind of gets takeout a lot or whatever,
No,
or
I can understand if
eats
you
out
ask
or
for
whatever,
something and-
and you don't get it, like a story for tonight, for example. No, but even just yesterday, I had ordered some food in work, and I'd ordered a rack of ribs. That's valid rage, though. It happens all the time. The 10th time it happens, it's the breaking point. Benji, yeah, I think we can all understand
Yeah,
this.
like that Michael Douglas film. I know he's fired or whatever, but it's
Breaking down, or what was it? Falling down. Breaking down.
Like
Breaking
straw
bad.
that broke the camel's back. So maybe this guy had a string of horrible experience in that
Yeah.
McDonald's. Yeah.
Well, yesterday I ordered mac and cheese and some ribs and some corn. Okay. And I got back to my place of work with it.
Watch out for your main course.
I was looking forward to having it. Do you know, I was going to sit down, I was going to watch a bit of the football or whatever. And I was happy, I was set. And I opened up the box and the ribs are there, and the ribs looked absolutely amazing. And I was like, they look like nice ribs. And I opened up the box and there's like two little mini corns there with like nice little blackness on them from the barbecue and the butter all in and whatever. And then I opened up the mac and cheese, box of fucking onion rings. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I hadn't had mac and cheese in ages. I was like, I'm going to look forward to some mac and fucking cheese. I look at the bag, and on the receipt, what does it say?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and fucking cheese. It wasn't my fault. I fucking ordered it right. And fucked if I'm driving in the car again another fucking 25
you were ordering
minutes.
off this screen where you pushing the buttons.
I ordered on the phone, and then I went and
Okay.
collected it, yeah. But like it's fucking miles away.
So what did you do?
I just ate the fucking onion rings, but I wasn't happy about it.
And did you enjoy them? No.
Not as much. I
Raging with it.
got my money's worth out of them, put it that way. But I would have preferred mac and cheese.
Did
So
you
yeah,
make
I
phone
was
call?
angry, but I didn't put in a bomb threat.
You didn't.
I didn't.
What did you threat?
Nothing. I was like, when I ringed them, I was like, oh, there's no fucking point and whatever. I just let it go. I didn't else on it and fucking let it go. But yeah, like I didn't ring in a bomb threat. So
How
while
the hell did they get mac and cheese into onion rings?
I don't know, just mix up the boxes. They come in the same type of box, I guess.
So someone else got mac and cheese that ordered
Presumably,
onion.
yeah.
Okay.
And they probably rectified it because they were closer.
Or made a phone call.
Or made a
They
phone
took
call.
action.
Yeah, but no,
That's
I wouldn't go
citizenship
too
action.
far as calling in a bomb threat. So that's
But he didn't plant the bomb. Okay, so what happens? McDonald's shut down for 2 hours probably. They would have had to. So he made his point. Like, do your job right or it's going to cost you money. Now, I understand there has to be consequences for him. There has to be. But I hope he's not going to do jail time for this. I hope he's fined. Would you say that would be fair?
Okay, so if somebody if this bomb threat had have caused an injury to somebody, in people trying to evacuate or whatever it might be,
Is that his fault or McDonald's fault?
do you think that he should maybe face jail
I
time?
don't think so. No, I think that would be McDonald's issue. Do they have the right evacuation procedures, etc., etc.?
What about the customers? What if the customers went bananas? And you can't control customers, really, can
Yeah,
you?
but is that the man's fault then? Like, he can't
Wow.
be responsible for how they react.
That's
I'm not saying what he did was right, but like Benji there, I kind of get where he's coming from. I'd love to know what his punishment would be. He has to be punished. And yeah, we're talking about the person in McDonald's. He has to be punished for.
the person
for not
has to be
putting
fired for not giving them.
Definitely,
the nuggets or indeed the mac and cheese.
I think that guy deserves.
I think first and foremost, let's fire that person.
Yeah,
because they're the root cause of it.
Absolutely, you're going back to the
cause and effect. It's the Matrix again. It really is. But
imagine how that guy feels. The guy or girl in McDonald's who didn't put the sauce in.
I know, yeah. But this kind of led me on to say, what other kind of funny bomb threats have there been? And a student allegedly calls in hoax bomb threat to avoid seeing parents. So authorities said the student's parents were on a flight to his city when he called in an anonymous tip. So he basically said that this plane took off in France and was diverted because this fella basically rang in and said that the flight was under threat, that there was a bomb or something on the plane. Let me just... basically a bomb threat. And an anonymous call suggested that a bomb could be on the plane.
Could be.
A bomb could be on the plane.
I put a bomb in the airport and I was watching and it could be that plane.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
But you see, you could probably write that off as it's nonsense, but, are you the call taker and eventually the person making the decision whether to divert that plane or not? In this day and age, are you going to say no?
Surely every time there's a bomb threat, it has to be...
It has to act. Yeah. So this obviously cost thousands of euro to the airline company. It probably cost a serious inconvenience to the passengers. Some of the passengers probably, missed important meetings and dates and were put to expenses. There's probably insurance claims coming out of it now. It's costing a fortune. Yeah. So you can understand that it is a serious offence. Yeah. And he could be convicted for 5 years in prison or 85,000 in fines.
Which would you take?
What would you take? I think you take the fine, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that seems like a very different. Oh, and the fine as well. Sorry.
Oh, it could be a fine as well. Yeah. But it kind of, it's funny, isn't it? The things you do not to see your parents.
Yeah, and you'd know, you can identify with that.
85 grand, so I don't have to see my mother for fucking half an hour or a couple of days or whatever. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
Do you know what we're saying there about how that has to be answered? I'm reading a book about data, and it sounds boring, but it's actually really interesting. But one of the things I was reading in it, there was a county in America. I can't remember what state it was in, and they were responding to so many call-outs for domestic violence that they went to a college and said, give us an algorithm, come up with an algorithm that can allow us to decide whether we're going to respond to these domestic calls or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the college authorities or the scientists in there, or the mathematicians, I'm guessing, in there, they came up with an algorithm. And the algorithm, like this police department used it for over a year, but it was a total disaster because basically the police were saying we can't respond to every call; it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to know that when we get a call from a woman or a child or even a man who's in a violent situation at home, should we call out to that house or not? And they went and they followed that algorithm for a year. The algorithm would say there's a 100%
I say
chance.
Murders went up.
Yes, yeah, murders went way up, especially of children for some reason. So the algorithm was flawed, but I think the idea of it is really good because you can't respond to everything.
You see, and I think that's probably, I understand your logic and why you would say that, but it's fundamentally flawed because of your lack of information. I know, for example, in this country, the authorities have taken a completely opposite approach, that every one of them are treated as almost priority, that they're all treated the same, whether you go to it for the first time or whether you go for the 100th time. Okay. It's treated the same, and there's a process because the evidence, and like your story suggests, is that if this stuff goes unattended, it results in higher deaths and more violence. So it's completely the opposite of that. And the ones that your algorithm, for example, would say that they don't need to go to because it's not really that serious. It's just really not that serious yet.
Okay.
And you have an opportunity to nip it in the bud at an earlier stage. Okay.
But could I ask, forgetting money for the moment, supposing in this place, the police get 2 or 3 calls or whatever of domestic violence, they need to decide which one to go to first.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a decision-making process there? Because like they have to prioritize one call over the other because they only have, let's say, one.
Okay, so you're in a situation where
you're going to go to
3 calls come in
Yeah.
at the exact same time
Let's
of a
say,
similar nature, and there's only one person available to respond to it. So yes, it's a decision. You're confronted with a decision there, aren't you?
So is there any kind of algorithm or?
I think so. Yeah. You know, my initial thoughts when I was trying to understand the question was that you'd probably leave it up to the individual because, you know, there's nothing like a human instinct. But then I suppose you can only imagine what the unions, you know, if I don't know if some of the police have unions or not or whatever, you know, they may not take kindly to that because that could open that person up to make a wrong decision. They're open to scrutiny then, so that may not be an option. So I think, yeah, you do need an algorithm.
Every different person will respond differently. I mean, if you were taking that call, or I was taking that call, or Jane was taking that call, and you had an issue of drink in your childhood with your parents, and one of those questions that the person on the phone is saying, well, he's drunk.
Yeah, I suppose you could base it on, I suppose, statistics. So you'd have to run, you know, of the domestic violence murders, let's say we're taking murders as the worst outcome, and there's horrific outcomes all along the way, but let's say take murder as the worst. If you work out that 40% of domestic violence calls result in murder after there has previously been already 3 calls, do you know what I mean? If that was a thing, then you could incorporate that into the decision to say, we have 3 people calling at the same time. One of them is their first time, the other one is their second time, and the other one is their third time. You know, there's statistical backing there to say when the person who's called the third time is at more risk. So yeah, that should probably be the person that gets it.
But that's an algorithm then.
It is, yeah. So, it is.
So would you agree with algorithms being used in these kind of situations?
Yes.
You need to fine tune.
Yes.
Obviously there was a mistake.
Yes, but what I don't agree with is that there should be ones that don't get responses at all.
Okay. No matter what the cost is.
Yes. You know, all calls need to be responded to and verified.
Okay. Benji's asking, do social workers respond with the police there? I know you might know the answer to that, but pull an answer out of your hull.
Yes, they do. I think the social workers in this country, some of them do an extremely good job and do an awful lot of work. But it's the service, I think, that lets these people down more than anything. And then these people can somewhat become cynical because of the service is so bad. It is, let's be honest, it's not great in this country at all. It's improving, but they're not there when you need them. Do you know what I mean? Like you'll be waiting. You could be waiting for them to come. But there are coordinated things as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely more communication is open, I think, between all the different agencies and things like that, more than it has ever been before. But you know, it needs improvement.
Thing. What would you do to avoid seeing your parents or one parent? Would you fake a serious illness?
Yes. Oh, well, sorry. I probably answered the question too quickly.
Like that. I remember early on,
whatever you want.
Some lad has been interviewed. Option number 1, you can spend lockdown with your family.
Yeah,
and the guy's like, 2.
Yeah, no matter what it was, it was better.
There's a lot of issues you might want to air. Just, you know, we've got 40 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's up in the top left there. No, what would I do? Tell me how serious is the disease that I pretend I have?
You tell me. Would you pretend you have HIV?
No. Like that's I can't see it today, ma'am. I just got HIV. Yeah, no, that's not going to work, is it?
Right. I have cut my finger off.
No, because you're going to have to show your finger. Like you can't go the rest of your life pretending not to have a finger.
Smack your finger with a hammer. Give yourself some kind of physical, real injury in order to avoid seeing your mum.
No, I wouldn't. No, okay, I'd pretend I'd have it. Like
okay.
So I wouldn't pretend. I basically, if I wouldn't pretend to have a life-changing or life-altering ailment.
Okay.
But I'd pretend to say like
every ailment, Goldie, alters your life.
Yeah, Benji Boyle has it right there. If you are seriously injured, your mom is going to go and want to be by your side. Like you're only attracting her more.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
My mum.
Or whoever, like mums in general. So yeah, you're going to have something that I'm sorry, like, thanks for everything, but you know, if you come here now, you're putting yourself at risk. Yeah, you're right, Benji. You're going to want to go with fucking COVID. Obviously, is a very handy one at the moment.
STI.
Or yeah, the STIs won't work with your mother. No, yeah, I think you definitely fake COVID, for example.
Okay.
Or the measles or something.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Right.
What would you do?
Probably get rid of a body part, because that's gonna. I don't need to do it. I haven't seen my father since before COVID, so
but he's
I don't
still
need to fake anything. I get the odd text.
Long haul COVID for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's been brilliant. It's been a great way of avoiding the rents, as I say, for the last 18 months. That brings us on to
the end of the show. It's been a great show. Are we finished?
No, it's not the end of the show. We're going to bring you Charlie's story now, which caused a little bit of controversy earlier on, but we're going to bring it to you. And he told me there's an angle.
No, I'm not doing this.
So I'm going to accept that there is an angle and an algorithm. So Facebook, this is coming to us just to set a tone from BBC News 7 days ago. Facebook apology as AI labels black men primates. And there's exclamation marks. Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Exclamation marks above primates. Talk to me about this, Charlie.
I'm not doing this story.
Why?
Because you didn't let it. You can't just throw it at me now.
No. I told you at the start of the show that we were going to allow this one in.
Yeah, and I've been on the show. What do you want me to research it while I'm on the show?
Well, you've obviously looked into it a little bit. So, Facebook users who watched a newspaper video featuring black men were asked if they wanted to keep seeing videos about primates by an artificial intelligence recommendation system.
So that's an algorithm.
It's essentially an algorithm. That's horrific, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, presumably Facebook are going to get sued here. You've been sued for less, haven't you?
Well, I'm not Facebook.
No, but you've seen Facebook or you've seen people being sued for less. That is particularly, and it's wrong anytime, but in 2021, it's certainly wrong and topical. Is that the word I could use?
Well, first of all, you can understand the computer error, yeah.
I knew you were going to try rope me into this. Okay, why? What do you mean? I can't understand.
Are you a primate, Goldie?
Yes.
Okay. Are black people primates?
You're a cunt. You see, this is why I didn't want it on the show.
That's fine.
Okay. I saw it.
Are we done with the story
now? No, but I saw you Googling before.
I was just double checking.
I just wanted.
Humans are primates. That's what
I think they are. But
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm this before I give you an answer. Yeah, so humans are primates.
So
a diverse group that includes some 200 species. Yeah, so just before you back me into the corner there. Why would Facebook be sued? Because of the connotations. And I know you're going to say, what connotations, Goldie? And then I'm going to say what they are.
Well, I think that's why we should not do this story.
Yeah. So, we are all primates, regardless of our ethnicity or skin color or religion or sexual preference. We're scientifically all classed as primates. Yeah. Yes. So Facebook is technically correct.
Yeah. My angle on that story was going to be
ethically wrong.
Yeah. So, but could a computer be racist? Was it racist of the algorithm? That was where I found that story fascinating. Because humans are racist. Yes. We know that.
But computers are only good as the input they receive. Yes. So they obviously received input from humans.
Yeah. But we've known for a long time that these computer systems aren't working. I mean, there was a Google image recognition algorithm a few years ago that was shown that you can identify different species of dogs. And when people put it to test, it didn't work because they were identifying huskies. Mm-hmm. But it turned out that the computer was just identifying any animal that had snow in the background in the picture as a husky. It wasn't actually able to distinguish between a husky and a Rottweiler or whatever. It was simply saying there's snow in every picture that I was taught is a husky. So these algorithms, I think that was just a brilliant, that Facebook algorithm, it's brilliant because it exposes the flaws of this. And then it gets you thinking, well, it's only a matter of time that people are going to be saying Facebook is racist or algorithms are racist. They're not really. It's responding to a kind of visual stimulus. It's wrong. It's a terrible error. It's not racist.
But but as I say, it's down to the programming that our understanding of these things are fundamentally. Sorry, folks, we're just giving an update here on TikTok. It's going to cost us 1,000 views. We need 1,000 followers on TikTok, folks, so we can stream live. And we've just hit 1,004. 1,004 followers. Thank you so much, folks. Our next show is going to be brought to you live from TikTok. Get up your roses, buy your flowers, and send them in to us. We cannot wait to be live on TikTok. Thank you very much, Benji Boyle. Much appreciated. 1,004 followers in one day.
1 hour, basically.
Well, since the show went live, we've got 10 or something. Yeah, so no, but like through the course of the day, we've got more. So yeah, the algorithm, I understand it. And you see, even on your phones there now, if people go, if you have a smartphone, you go into your photo gallery, you can actually search by pictures of just you because it recognizes you. You can search by pictures of birthdays or scenic backgrounds, whatever. So there are algorithms classifying pictures right now. Yeah, absolutely get it. I can understand we are primates. I can understand from a racist, I'm going to say it, from a racist point of view, why it would classify these people as primates in that sense of the word. I get it because it is racist and it's wrong. And that's a reflection on us. We talk about our children, don't we, being reflections of us. You know, we see ourselves and our kids and we try to, you know, they obviously have their own distinct personalities, but it's melded or molded with our own attributes and philosophies and whatever. So I suppose the AI is just like a child of us, isn't it? The algorithm is a child of humanity, and it reflects our own prejudices. So yes, I get it.
Interestingly, did you hear the British Minister for Sport last week? Did you send me that story?
No.
He was talking about, like, he put up on I put a tweet up, great to meet such and such.
Oh yes. He
that was you, was it? Yeah. And
no, you sent it to me.
I sent it to you. Okay.
Yeah, so this is where a British member of Parliament, am I right?
Yeah, and he was a minister for sport.
Minister for sport, so should know sporting bodies.
Yeah.
Mixed up, I think, a footballer and a musician.
Totally different sport. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wrong. I don't know, is that wrong in that sense, because they do look very similar.
Yeah,
they do. They do look similar.
It looks.
It's like it's like, for example, I would get, and we won't say celebrity for obvious reasons, but I sometimes get mistaken for a celebrity. You get mistaken for two celebrities. Two, yeah. The
racing car,
the racing driver, and the actor. So you get mistaken for those two. So people do look like each other. That's okay. For a minister of sport,
do you consider it racist that people find you similar to? I know they don't mistake it, but if they mistook you on the street,
no, sure, it's cool, isn't it? Like, to be mistaken as somebody that's famous.
Let's say you're mistaken for Jimmy Savile. Would you consider it racist that you're mistaken by Jimmy Savile?
No.
If the person who mistook you for Jimmy Savile was of a different ethnicity, would you consider that?
But
racist?
If I looked like Jimmy Savile,
yeah,
well then no. How could I? It's going to be a normal thing. You could genuinely be mistaken for somebody. I mistake people for people all the time.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all do.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I apologise. I'd like to officially apologise on air for not originally allowing that story in, because I just felt it was a minefield and something that we've talked about before in the show, and killed and flogged that horse so many times. So I just didn't want to do it again, but I apologise because, yeah, I understand the angle that you came from at it with today. Do you accept it now? Can we?
Absolutely.
I think we probably need to record the show again, do we?
Yeah.
So you're not so much of a fucking asshole throughout the show.
No, you haven't been that much of a dick.
Well, I never am.
Accept
your apology. I appreciate it. So that's going to bring us on to our final segment of the show. Oh, I'm an agony. And
Very good.
And this is the part of the show where one of you guys wrote in with a problem, and Charlie and Goldie, or I suppose more so Goldie myself, tries to give some advice.
Solve it for them.
And we did, in fairness, on our last show, we got an email back in from the person thanking us for the advice that we given them, and they'd made a decision.
What decision did they make?
They actually didn't elaborate on what decision they made, and I respected their privacy in relation to it, but they appreciated the advice.
Did they say if they took your advice? Or
they said it helped them come to a balanced decision.
Does that wreck your head even more now? Are you wondering?
No, I'm happy to help. It's a selfless act.
Did you get anything out of that bit of advice?
I got so much pleasure.
What advice did you give in the end?
I basically made them reassess their entire life.
What was the question they were asking?
It escapes me right now.
You're very moved by her plight, though.
I was very moved by her plight, but I'm more focused and prepped for tonight's story, or tonight's letter.
Well, I hope whatever decision you made, I hope that your two children are still okay in that preschool, and that they have identified the troublemaker, not on his ethnicity, but that they've gone. I hope they went to the teacher about it.
Okay.
Bring
us to our new story.
Okay, it's a shocking one, and I'm speechless at this from both sides. So I'll just let it at you.
Okay.
So this woman, I had to contact her.
You had to contact her?
Yes.
How wow. So we're reaching out to people now to give advice.
She'd reached out to the Daily Mirror, and was asking readers what did they think. Okay. So I contacted her and said, "Is it okay if we have your story on the show?" And she said, "Absolutely." Okay.
So, and what's her name?
She's totally nameless.
Okay.
She doesn't. She.
Can we come up with a name for her? Can we call her Belinda?
Okay. So Belinda has a husband, right, who travels a lot for work. Mm-hmm. I think there's something obvious going on in here, but I'll leave it to you. So he travels a lot for work, and when he comes home, he recently has started asking his wife to strip when he comes home for inspection.
I actually remember this. I remember seeing this in the paper.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, because he doesn't trust her.
Yeah.
But continue on, please do. I don't remember the details.
So this is the woman's story. So from this point on, it's her directly saying this. "It started to bother me, so I decided to see if it was just foreplay to him, or if he really felt the need to inspect every inch of my body. He got home a few days ago from a trip. Like usual, he immediately tells me to take my clothes off, but this time I told him no." Maybe a wolf whistle. This time I told him no. And he said he wanted to look at me.
Okay, let's take this seriously.
Okay, I told him I wasn't feeling good and I didn't want to have sex. Now straight away, that's a leap on her part, but I'll leave all this to you.
Yeah.
He responded that he didn't need to have sex. He just wanted to look at me. I got upset at him at this point. I told him I didn't want him to look, but it came across more aggressive than I meant it. Ever since, he's been acting cold and distant. In the entire 7 years we've been together, he has never, not once, turned sex down when I initiate, but he did yesterday.
It's like that that film Airplane, where the air hostess offers your man a second cup of coffee, and the wife says, "No, he's okay." And he goes, "Actually, I will have a second cup." And then he gets a second cup, and it just pans into the girl sitting in the chair, and you hear her talk on, "John never has a second cup of coffee at home, like a cup of coffee at home." And it's like ridiculous. I never understood it as a kid. I was like, why is this funny? But it's just fucking priceless, isn't it? Yeah. When you understand. But so he obviously had reason to suspect something was wrong on this particular. Does she elaborate on where she was going or who she was with, or does she go out often?
No, he was on trips. So let's say he's gone away for a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he comes back, presumably they've just been in home for the week. Right.
And he wanted to inspect her body.
Yeah.
When he got back.
Totally
and then
naked.
When she tried to initiate sex, he refused it.
Yeah. After she refused to get naked for him the last time.
Okay. Jesus, this is tough.
Very frightening.
It's a tough one. I suppose, and you said yourself that there's two avenues that you've explored at this, and you're not sure. Is that what you said at the start? Yeah. Okay. Let's take it first of all that the reason that he doesn't want sex is because he doesn't trust her, because he was away. He didn't know what she was up to while he was away, and had some cause for concern.
Clearly suspects
that she was cheating on him. Wants to inspect her, I suppose, when he gets home, which is strange. You can understand,
Is he looking for what, like
bite marks, or maybe finger marks, or
finger marks?
No, but like redness in areas,
sorry.
and maybe some fluids or whatever
remnants
that there might be of infidelity, I suppose.
And presumably it's found nothing in all those times he's asked.
But she's refusing it. That's the thing.
She's only refused this time, though. You see, she's done it for him before a few times.
Right. Well, so, okay. Well, it's a tough one. So there's either at that element that he just doesn't trust her, and she's either making a stand now all of a sudden, or she actually has something to hide. That's that's plaguing him. So that's one way it could go. And if that is the case, well then, you need to find out what the root cause of that distrust is, and why you feel the need to ask in the first place for her to strip down. There's something wrong there before you even get to that stage. So you need to have a conversation about it. But my instinct would tell me, and I suppose the other option here is that he's away. Did you say where he is? Is he on business trips? Business trips. So he potentially actually has something to hide.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's coming home and creating this environment where he's pushing it on her that she's the one that's actually cheating, so she doesn't suspect him.
Yeah.
And basically creates friction. So there's no possibility of her having sex with him and discovering what he is actually hiding. So that's the other side of it.
Or if she confronts him, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, you've refused. Like, he was asking such a ridiculous thing. He was, in my opinion, hoping it's going on it's offense beats defense type thing, isn't it? There's no better defense than a good offense. Is that the expression? You know better than me, I suppose.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. The greatest defense is a good offense. So there is an expression for that.
This guy could be really smart, very ruthless and manipulative, but very smart if your second option is right.
Yeah. Well, I suppose he's in a situation where he's always kept her guessing. So even though she might suspect, she never gets the actual proof. But that's not a way to live, is it?
No.
Do you know? So I think only, Belinda, I think only you know the answer to that question yourself. Benji Boyle says he's definitely cheating, probably has a secret credit card.
That's very specific.
It is.
Based on this story.
It is. But I suppose, Belinda,
blinked.
You need to know in your own heart what is going on. If you are the one that's actually cheating, well, then you know that he has cause to suspect you, so you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay with him and be faithful and work your issues out? Or if you're completely innocent and you're not cheating on him, well then I think you need to explore the same thing, I suppose. You need to explore what the cause of this is, but be prepared for the fact that he is probably cheating on you. And how are you going to deal with that? Are you going to accept it and try to work through it, or are you just going to leave him? I can only, I suppose, tease these scenarios out with you, Belinda. I can't actually tell you what to do because only you know in your own heart what's best in your situation. But these are things that you certainly need to consider.
To look at, yeah. She obviously had sex with him the first few times.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a kind of kinky element to it. I mean, imagine someone coming home telling this person, your partner, to take off all your
if
clothes.
She did have sex with him the first few times, is that what you're telling me is fact?
That's what is implied by it, because then last time she didn't take the clothes off.
Then you're switching back to her being to her cheating. Like if he had sex on all the other previous occasions, then he wasn't hiding anything. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, then the issue is actually
why?
Because if on this occasion he wanted to check her down, to create this friction, to have this facade that he's been faithful and she's not, then and that's the whole goal of that. is so she doesn't actually check him. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Having sex with her on all the previous occasions shows he's nothing to hide.
Anyway, okay, yeah.
So now it actually does fall back to her. So then you're looking at, I think, the most likely situations is that Belinda is cheating, or she's not, and there's a fundamental issue that you need to resolve here.
Okay.
And you're both actually faithful. The two of you are faithful, but there's something there that's not fucking right.
Okay.
And again, you need to figure that out.
It sounds almost though like a kind of a kinky-ish relationship, certainly in the early parts, because that idea, like she obviously liked being
well, like as
dominated by him and told, and
Benji says they're both cheating. They probably are. And if they're both cheating and yet they come home to each other, could they not come to an arrangement? Yeah. Could it work for them?
Could it
be a good
marriage?
Because they're getting Spanky with Beans and Weenie's entered the live studio. Welcome.
That could be the couple.
That could be the couple. That could be Belinda and her partner. But I suppose if they're both in a relationship where they're both cheating, but yet they still come home to each other for certain comforts, could they come to an arrangement? Possibly. Welcome. Thank you, Spanky Beans. I have to say, I'm quite, like, when I read this story a couple of days ago, when I saw it in the media, I just kind of read the headline and I thought to myself, oh, I'd love to be able to do that to my partner when I came home, check her to see if she's been cheating or in unfaithful, but hoping to find something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not find something, because that would be,
you'd probably be secretly hoping to find something.
You'd be hoping to find something, because maybe that would be a turn on.
Like, I mean, the majority of people that are cheating would be really careful, and I know this from experience. The majority of people would be really careful with what they do with their bodies. I mean, someone who's cheating, knowing her husband is coming home the next day, she's going to have very careful sex with her lover. So there'll be no physical marks on her body.
They won't be choking each other or scraping each other or stuff like that.
And let's be honest, at any point in time, there's going to be some mark in your body. You hit it off, shower or anything. So it's not a foolproof method by the guy to assess if his wife's cheating, I think, in the first place.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But for me, I can see how it could be a fetish and an exciting thing initially, but it sounds like in this case, in Belinda's case, that it's distrust gone a little bit too far. So you definitely need to rectify that issue.
Belinda, I'll be honest with you, don't bother writing into Goldie to see how it's worked out for you, because he's not going to give a fuck, is he?
Oh no, I will, Belinda. I will be delighted to hear back from you and to see how you get on with it. We do love to hear how we've helped people on this show. That's pretty much brought us to the end of our show. Thanks very much to everyone that listened in. Benji Boyle with us throughout, Pork Chop,
Great
Spanky with Beans and Weenies, Romo Clan, Caps, Hannah, Fanny, 100 Yard Alchemist, and all the other listeners out there. Thank you so much for listening to our show. We're going to be back with you again next month, but we could be back before then with our new venture, MIB at the movies. If there's a movie that you would like us to watch that is copyright free, that you would like us to
has to be
to dub, basically. yeah. Please give us a shout on our Facebook page, on our TikTok or whatever. Do that for us, and we're going to be back with you probably in a couple of weeks' time with that. We're going to actually go into rehearsals for it now, aren't we? We're going to test it out. We're not going to do a full movie. Okay. We're going to just do a couple of minutes to see how we get on. And do please like the TikTok page, folks. Thank you so much for a great night. I've been Goldie Metcalf.
I'm still Charlie Naughton.
And this has been Midnight in Baghdad, episode 53. Good night. God bless.